Welcome back to the artist, always known as Alejandro. It is time to remaster another sketch of mine. This is Syril. Last week I had Artibus from Dead Planet, and this is Syril, another vampire, the lead vampire of my movie, Dead Planet. And this was a sketch of her I have running in the beginning of the movie from Danger. Obviously, it's a little questionable, so we're going to remaster that. Time to remaster it. This was the original sketch idea. Very different. But then I went for that. So they're kind of overlapping. I was like, should I do this one over again? But I'm like, no. Let's stick with what we have here in Clip Studio Paint. So this was one of my early digital drawings. Playing around, I just decided to draw her. But as you can see, things were a little anatomically off. So what I did for Artibus last week, I'm doing for Syril this week. Well, we're going to use the original layer as a guide. I do like the angle of everything. I'm going to keep the same angle, the idea of it, but let's revamp it. I'm going to do my pencil layer this time. I'm going to redo her entire body. Unlike Artibus, I only did a little bit with the rest of her body. I didn't change much with the hands and the lower body, but things are going to get revamped. So we're just doing our little pencil layer. Again, this is a new method that I just kind of like the going back and forth thing. I like doing that with the pencil. On paper, real lead pencil. I know a lot of artists do that too. There's just something about going back and forth over the lines. It gives this kind of strange kinetic feel for the line. You know what I mean if you're trying it. Again, this is my method. You can try it, but if you find something that works better for you, go for it. We're all here to find our own little creative processes, however you want to say it. I mean, back then I was just experimenting. This could have been 2021 or 2022 when I played around and did this sketch of Syril. And, I've been doing these sketch videos almost a year. Yeah. It's coming up on a year. Don't know the exact date. You could look at the first video, which is, I think, Spider-Man. But it's coming up. So, yeah, just look at the lines, go back and forth, and then I'm going to reduce the opacity to that and start my line work using the round mixing brush. I think I'm at a 4 or a 5. Going back and forth a little. If this is an actual pen, an artist pen, I feel a lot more comfortable going back over space because in the digital realm you leave digital breadcrumbs, so to speak, as you know, when we move stuff around. But things are lining up pretty good the way I want them to. And here I'm actually going to do her eyebrows a little thicker, as a normal person's would be. Not this one thin little line. I'm kind of inspired by seeing Master of the Universe Revelation and Revolution on Netflix. It was very well done. And they had female characters drawn very well. You could see their eyebrows. They may have even been thicker, like Tila. So, yeah, women's eyebrows are going to be thicker. They could be thinner, but they're not going to be a single line. Granted, you could do that. That's the kind of drawing you're doing. I did that in the kids' book, and it's fine. Here, I wanted to experiment. Give her eyebrow a little thickness. Of course, the eyes are always a problem for me. But with each drawing, I improve. Right? Right. The comic book mouth. It's really strange. I was looking at some live shots of women with that kind of expression. But hers is going to be a little more freak. Somewhere like very minimal. Like they're just getting... something's getting them nervous, stressed. Not like this where she's running for her life. So I played around with the lip a lot, as you know. This is not working. Now, sometimes, you just use your imagination. Just think of what might work for you. That's not going to work. What are you doing, Alejandro? She's got to be like, run, 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 Syril, run. Not quite sure how I came up with her name. And you can see I spell Syril. I think most Cyrils are Cyril. Hers needed an S. Well, this movie Dead Planet opens with Syril camping or looking around, and we don't know if she's got a backpack, which is not in this drawing. It's on the original, but it's okay. She could just be running. But in the movie, starts off with her alone in the woods, trying to find her way, and then she encounters a werewolf and starts running for her life. Da, 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 da. Obviously, it's revealed she's a vampire and can kick butt. I gotta move that around. The distance between that middle brow and the nose is still something to play around with. The best thing with Clip Studio Paint is you can move stuff around, man. I love it. In that regard, there's so many wacky things you could do here. And the eyes, ugh. And in the beginning, Syril's by herself. She takes down the werewolf, but other werewolves pop out of the woods and want to take her down, and she summons her fellow vampires to help her fight the werewolves. But then a new threat arises in the form of zombies. Neither one knows what they are. But of course, the zombies start taking some bites into the werewolves and the vampires. And Syril narrowly escapes. She's the only survivor of that encounter. And has to relay this information back. Yeah, there's a swizzle booby there. I don't know what is going on there. It's like, okay, what are you trying to do there? She relays this information to her vampire clan. There was a werewolf lagging behind, and he made it back. And he warns the werewolves that something's up. And they get some satellite footage of what happened, and they don't understand what's up either. Yeah, I'm just, as you can see, I'm not doing fingers. I just wanted to get the structure, the bones, the essence, the framing of her run in the revamped mode. And her hair. Always had her hair at a little braided ponytail. I have this kind of flying. I changed this, of course. It just seemed a little. It could be in that position, but I have it kind of at this weird angle. We'll get to it, but let's fill in the fingers and work on that. Now, while I was writing Dead Planet, Did I write it? I wrote some of it like a book. Then after a while, I just started thinking in terms of script and started writing in that format. Because if this is the way I'm going to write it, I'd much rather write it in script form using lovely Final Draft. I watched something on A Few Good Men and how Aaron Sorkin was writing the script for the movie because he wrote the play. But he was so concerned about the formatting. Back then, you're on a typewriter. There wasn't a Final Draft. There was no program to get the margins right. And he was so concerned about that. I think he talked with Rob Reiner, and he was like having a hard time. And he said, or someone told him that just write it the way you want it. There's other people that will format it for you later on. And that's what I've been doing with some of the Fight to Save the Universe stuff. But I did write some of Dead Planet in the Word document, and then I went to Final Draft. And things changed. Originally, Syril had a guy. Yeah, a guy she was romantically linked with as a vampire. And this went on for a while. I mean, it created some tension. But then there was a point where it was not working. And it's like she was going her separate way from the vampire, and it was like, well, why would she ever want to reunite with this guy? She doesn't want to. I'm like, oh, well, there's no, there's something's missing. So I said, well, cut the romance out, make the vampire her brother. There could always be family tension. The sibling rivalry thing, the protecting the sibling thing. And so when she wants to go her separate ways, it's a bit of a struggle for her. She doesn't want to leave her brother. He doesn't want her to go. Whoa. And so that, I was like halfway through the script. Thankfully, I just had to change some stuff around. The dialogue had to change a little bit, obviously. There's no kissing. And revamped. Huh. Love using revamp with vampires, right? Erase those lines. You don't need them. Cyril's outfit is kind of simple. Originally, actually, I had her sleeves that are more puffy. Which makes no sense. If you're fighting werewolves, why would you have puffy sleeves? A werewolf could grab it and shred it, or grab them and pull them down. You don't need that. No, 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 no. Yeah, this was too high, so let's move this pouch. What has she got in that pouch? Oh, she could have some silver throwing stars or whatever. In my world, yep, silver can take out a werewolf, wood can take out a vampire. You have to have a lot of wood, though. But in my world, vampires can be out in the daylight. Because there's just too much going on here for them to be not going out in the daylight. It just seems like a preposterous weakness. They're weaker in daylight. So I give them that thing. They're a little weaker. They do fly, as you saw with Artemis. The wings kind of just come out from their uniform or whatever they're wearing. The material they're wearing, it kind of takes on the look of it. So that's why Artemis's wings were gray. If Syril were to sprout her wings now, as you can see from the thumbnail, they'd probably be like a brown-orange color. If she was naked, they'd be flesh-colored, That's the way I make their wings. They have to have wings in this story. It's very important. I mean, she could leap high, but she needs to be able to fly. All of them. Very important. So we're adding all these little details, a little thickening of the lines a bit. Just this little stuff. The eyes, as you can see, I'm very happy with the way I finally did the eyes. Her ponytail is going to change a bit. There we go. See, I did a little bit more of an angle there. Yeah, you could see I needed to change that. Now everything's a little more streamlined. So now it's time to do the details. Now I put the pattern of her vest, the top of her vest, on its own layer. I did that on purpose, so I was trying to refer to the other one. Like, how did I do the pattern? Oh yeah, it looks like a cross thing. Okay. Just had to refer. I haven't drawn Syril in a while. I was drawing her a lot when I was doing the story. I think from the beginning I always envisioned her as a blonde. And as I was making ideas, like, oh, if this was a movie, who would she be played by? If she were younger, Charlize Theron would have been perfect. A 20-year-old or even mid-20s Charlize Theron would have been perfect. There's an actress named Cody Horn. There was one picture of her she looked like she could have been Syril. I thought maybe Amanda Seyfried, but I don't know, she seems too nice. She's got a great look. But I don't know. That's just spitballing, right? And I don't know if you checked out my playlist. If you haven't, please check out the playlist. I'll put the link in this below again of my Dead Planet scenes. These were all done on paper, penciled first, then artist pen. So some drawings are kind of crude, but not to give too much away. Syril actually does wind up romantically linked with the leader of the werewolves, Pharaoh. And I didn't think there'd be any place for romance in this story. This is one of those cases where the story and the characters tell you what to do. I kid you not. If you're a writer, you know what I mean. These characters take on a life of their own. I swear it's true. You write, you know this happens. They kind of tell you, like, well, he or she wouldn't do that. No. But then I'm like, when I'm writing that, like, should they hook up? Yeah, like, really? And I was trying to resist it. Like, we just got to get to the end of this thing when they're trying to find the guy who controls the zombies. But this little romantic thing, I mean, vampires and werewolves aren't supposed to be romantic. This may be also where I'm getting influenced by Underworld, right? But then it just happened, and it actually created some tension, because then, of course, even though they were her and Pharaoh, other werewolves and vampires, her brother was Val. Even though I tried to do some shading under here, this did not work either. Even though they were allies, once Val walked in on Syril and Pharaoh making out, he was pissed. He thought Pharaoh was violating her. So this creates more tension. You know, vampires and werewolves are never supposed to be together. Like, being allies right from the get-go, that's kind of tough too. But now this, you. It's towards the end of the movie. I might be giving some stuff away, but it's important stuff. Syril does wind up getting captured by Krumel, who's the man who controls the talisman that controls the zombies. But he's fascinated by Syril because Syril reminds him of his deceased wife. And he figures, well, with the wife the way she is now, he could control this vampire to do his bidding. If she gets bit by a zombie, then he can control her. Twisted stuff, man. I think my script was 140 pages. A lot going on. Syril was with the werewolves at their base, and then they had to escape. And she had to go back to her citadel and rescue the remaining surviving vampires, including her brother. And they had to go on their journey to find and stop Krumel. It was a satisfying ending. And I broke my playlist into scenes, so it's a little easier to digest. It'd be great if this could be expanded into something bigger. We'll see. Right now, the fight to save the universe is my main focus. Syril and them will be in Fight to Save the Universe, but it'll be a very different story, as you'll see. Alright, we did our details on a separate layer too. Now look at compare and contrast. Look at that. Now I did have a backpack on her, and I did not include it in this drawing. Oh well. Don't need it, but look at that. That was the original layers. They don't line up anymore. It's still there, but yeah, look at that. So we'll just erase that entire, you just keep it as a folder, you hit that erase button, it's all gone. And we're just going to go back and forth from the old drawing that I have as a separate clip and get her skin. The layers are already there, as you can see, in the clip to layer below. So just go back to the old one. It's kind of fun to see what it looks like. Now remember, as always, your more forward layers should be the top layers. Try to not overlap. Because you know I love to do the shading with the airbrush, but if you have things that overlap, when you start shading, they'll be bleeding into each other, and we don't need that. Yeah, I was quickly realizing, well, I should put this finger on another layer. I'm like, hey, the pouch. Trying to think of things that are kind of popping here. See, keep that at its own layer. Don't want to bleed into her pant leg there. Just looking and see what else is happening. I don't remember doing that. And the black of her eyes. Her pupils. Duh. Next layer, we do the neck. We're going to do all the things on her face, like her eyes. I think I do her eyebrows. Yeah, I didn't like that yellow. It looked kind of like, this is the yellow from the other one, but I just said, let me brighten it up a little bit. I kept it a little dark on her eyebrows, but then this, you can see there's little flesh there, like, hey. See, this is what happens when you don't close your lines. But that's all right, I'll fix it later. Let's move on to the next part. And each one of her knuckles, excuse me, each one of her knuckles is a layer on its own, because you know why? I'm going to shade them. We don't want them overlapping. No, no, no. And I kind of like the way this orange was on her. This used to be pink, too. The ones that had the ruffles? Yeah, this was pink. It was an interesting color, but I'm like, why would she wear pink? Doesn't scream badass to me, because she's badass, too. Her lips could be pinkish, but not her shirt. So I made it this orange. It looks better. And I like that he made the orange a top layer. So if I go under her armpit, it'll be its own. And remember, always get rid of that layer, take it off so you can see the whites. When you have to put in the whites for her teeth and her eyes. There we go. See the oranges underneath there. So that's pretty smart. And the part of her collar. Then the bottom leg. Going back and forth. Always check to make sure you know where you're at. Something doesn't look right, fill it in. Well, make sure you have your layers figured out. And then her vest is this kind of darker terracotta thing. And I like the way it stopped there. I'm like, okay, I'll make that its own layer, because this way I could add shading underneath her chest. And there we go, the rest of her vest. Rad. Now her hair. And I have two different hair layers. The hair layer for the front will be in there. And first I'm like, this blonde color is just a little more pukey greeny. I don't want. There, a lighter blonde is better. There we go. And then her braids will be their own layer. And it's okay, and I don't mind if they blend into each other. There we go. Just get a little closer. Don't be shy. Yeah, there it is, the backpack. Don't need it. Sorry, but it's okay. It'll make you want to weeble wobble, weeble wobble. Weeble wobble, weeble wobble. Anywho, so now it's time to do one of my favorite things, is the shading. I love the shading. It's so fun. Remember, it's the clip to layer below. So whatever layer I colored, you're going to the layer above with another raster layer, and then doing the clip to layer below to do this. So once you start shading, your shade won't bleed over into any other layers. And as always, to make it easy, select the main color and then just bring it down on the color wheel there. See, there we go. Make it a little darker. Change the size of it. Sometimes making it bigger is good, and you just kind of go outside it. That's one fun feature. And then we have this clenched fist. I kind of want the light to be coming from behind her. I know this wacky background I have of leaves and stuff. I wanted to give the illusion of a forest. And I just do this kind of wacky leaves and stuff overlaying each other. It looks pretty cool. And I would have drawn trees and all that, but this is just kind of like, almost like a nightmare. You may see things differently if you're having a nightmare. I quickly realized, yes, I got to do her pant leg now. your knee and those little spots. I mean, if you're trying this, I hope it's going well for you. And remember too, if you're filling line, if your airbrush lines look a little too wonky, you could always go to your blending tool and look at that. Smooth it out. There you go, much better. You gotta remember where you're at. Make it shake, 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 senora. Anyhow, do that knuckle. Just remember though, if you just forget where you are, you could always uncheck the layer and see, okay, this is where I need to start shading. So I'm going to move on. Just check, see, did I leave anything out here? No, I did not. I'm going to add a little white to her eyes there. The light's coming from that way. From a distance, it's hard to see it, but I know it's there. And so do you. That's the important thing. All right, moving on to the next layer. So we see we got to start shading in her arms. And of course the knuckle. The next knuckle. Bent finger, I should say. I don't really want to spoil how Dead Planet ends. I'll just say some survive, some don't. But it is a journey. Yeah, I wrote the script. I even sent it to the Writers Guild of America. I got a certificate. It's now registered with the Writers Guild. Pretty cool. Have it in a frame. I didn't copyright it, but they usually say when you write something, you're automatically copywriting, but don't be. If you like something you really want to copyright it, go right ahead. Nothing wrong with that. If you want to protect your work, go right ahead. Actually, when I was wanting to copyright this, I forgot. I think there was another Dead Planet script. I wanted to know what it was about, but I've never found out. But that is incidentally why I have the hyphen between Dead and Planet. This distinguishes my story from there, right? Not everybody's going to put a hyphen between those words. That's my explanation as to why I did that. There we go. Make it a little darker. That looks cool. Look at that. Just be aware. I'm going to add a little darkness to her lips. Even her eyebrows, just a little bit. You may not notice it in a close-up, you will, but from a distance, it's like, why even bother? Now the whites. I'm even going to make it just a hint of gray there, because they don't need to be exactly white, even on her teeth. But I know this is how I like to keep things pretty simple, but still you can follow along. I mean, I don't know. This is hard, but I mean, I'm not in the league of those other guys. Not trying to compare myself as always, but can't help it. When I look at some artwork by Ed Ben, I don't know if it's Ed Benz or Bennis, Frank Cho, they have Facebook pages, and just seeing what they do is like, oh, man, you make it look so damn easy. And these are just pencil sketches. They're just beautiful. But the little details and things they do with just line work, it's like, oh man, how do I get there? But this is me. If you want to add more lines, go ahead. I do like my minimalist approach. And at least if I'm coloring something, the shading, the airbrushing kind of takes care of that for me. I don't really need to add those lines. I just like adding in certain spots, like obviously the abs, the knees, the elbow area, the ruffles on clothing, the curve of the hip into the leg. I just love doing that. It just looks very heroic to me. Let's see, where are we moving on to now? The hair. Now, this layer of hair by her ear, I made that its own layer below. I had to do that because it was bleeding over, so just be aware. I put it all the way on the last layer that has the bottom of her leg. I think it was the vest. And then her hair here is still the woohoo. Front of her hair is a layer, and then a clip to layer below, and their ponytail is its own layer below. Just adding a little bit of shade there. It's funny when you pull back, you may not notice it, but it's there. That's what matters. And I really didn't do much to the background, but I kind of kept it. I tried to do some liquefying, but it's okay. And then I do some blending here just to give the hair not look like just one saturated mess. Keep it neat and nice. And Syril's looking pretty cool. And then I fix this thing. See, this bothered me. I erased that little bit there. And then when I erase that with this little erase selection brush, watch what happens. I get blonde. There it is. Ah, there she is. If you kind of noticed, I did a little bit of tweaking on her arm. Yep, I just had to do one last thing with her arm. It just seemed too short in comparison to the rest of her body. And if you're kind of observant, I shrunk her head down a little bit. Just a little too big. So now there she is, Syril, from Dead Planet, my vampire warrior. Revamped compared to that other one. Big improvement, right? I wholeheartedly agree. Had to do it, I'm glad I did. It's nice to give these drawings their just revision. So thanks for joining me on this little journey. I hope it was fun for you to see my process of revamping the vamp herself, Syril. And I will see you in the next video. Please like and subscribe. I'll bring you more. And of course, check out my Dead Planet playlist to follow the story of Syril and her vampire warriors in the movie called Dead Planet. And I will see you soon. And as always, this is Alejandro telling you to keep creating.